Jews. We fight against that. We fight against this. This gentleman here says that we're speaking hate speech. We are not speaking hate speech. We're trying to protect your freedoms as well, just so you know. We're trying to protect your freedoms. Your freedoms to say whatever you want.
How you doing, sir? Oh, hey, Danny. How's it going, man? Yeah.
I'm speaking about what I'm speaking. You're calling me a hate monger. I'm not a hate monger.
Well, we already got some violence out here. This lady over here and the guy from the cab, she already took a swing at me too. She didn't get me though. But I don't know, Danny, what do you think? Well, they said we're Nazis, and they said that the whole protest is an indoctrination from Kevin Trudeau. That's her claim, and that he has a swastika on his chest, and therefore we're all Nazis. I've independently called for the protest, so I don't know what ties to him. I've never met him or spoken to him, so I'm not but this is what's going on, and this is the kind of mentality we have today, is if someone disagrees with you, you call them a Nazi. They're a Nazi.
That's where the problems are. The problems are in the ideology. There are many moderate secular type Muslims that want to keep our democracy. They don't want the Islamism. They don't want the extremism. They should be standing with us.
This is in Toronto, guys. Toronto, 777 Bay Street right now. We're live. This protest is live, and the violence is live. Apparently we're Nazis because we don't like moving gangs. And we're hoping that Tommy can get free because he's a regular guy. He wants to, and it's more than just drug. It's a spirit. This is a spirit that is
Robinson. Tommy Robinson. We're here in Toronto on Bay Street in front of the British consulate to protest Tommy Robinson's arrest. There's some of us here who would like there to be more, but it is what it is. There is another demonstration later this afternoon against the Al-Quds Day, which glorifies the killing of Jews and the annihilation of Israel, so perhaps people are waiting for that. But a few people are here to protest Tommy's arrest. And Tommy's arrest is our arrest, you can pretty well say. Our freedoms are gone if we don't fight this. We have to fight this with all that we can in peace. Pegita's stance is peaceful. We don't agree with aggression. We want to say what we need to say, and we would love people to listen. We will continue to fight for our freedoms. People around the world are fighting for Tommy's freedom in front of British consulates all over the world. In Canada, there's an event in Ottawa, there's an event in Hamilton, in Calgary, Vancouver, and various places. So this will probably go on for a couple of hours, so if you can make it down, because it is important what we're fighting for.
We cannot tolerate these kind of terrorists who are if that happens, the whole country is going to go. So we're going to see what else. I think, like you said, in the white person, I just don't
Free Tommy. Free Tommy Robinson. Free Tommy. Free Tommy Robinson.
anti-Jewish. And I heard there's a Palestinian right in the JDL is going to be there.
Just to let you know, at 3:30 on the corner of Armory and University here in Toronto, there is a protest against the Al-Quds Day. During the Al-Quds Day, Palestinian sympathizers walk through the streets with signs that call for the annihilation of Israel and call for the death of Jews. This has happened consistently over the past several years. And last year there was I don't know about the year before, but last year for sure, there was a video playing. And in this video, it speaks about beheading Jews, 2, 6, 12 Jews. And this is played on the streets of Toronto. And this is not acceptable in my eyes.
I want to stand up for truth, and I want to stand up for our nation, and stand up against this tyranny that's happening against people who tell the truth, against pedophile and rape gangs, especially Muslims like these.
I'm going to be interviewed.
We're standing up for all people. Yeah, okay, that's what he's dealing with it and making it way. In other words, accommodating for one faith, which is Islam, or then this Christian heritage, which is no religion.
I mean, it's simple. We just have to be aware that some people, regardless of who they are,
They're all some sort of wisdom.
more of one group
They have
than
wisdom in it. The same wisdom person. Christianity, Jewish, Catholic, all of them, all these books. They have enough wisdom. It's used Chinese properly. And Christianity and Catholic, it says to cover your body.
I have no issue if people want to cover their body. None.
It says don't pray, don't do adultery.
It is interesting because it's been taught that freedom of speech is number one most important thing with not for anything that they don't being eroded through Sharia law, crucifixion of Christ, getting Sharia getting happening in Canada, and Canadians better start seeing not to do violence. It sometimes goes over their head.
Okay, give me 1 second. That's why we have Lebanon. Let's say I agree with you.
But many of them don't allow you to speak. That's why I keep asking you, do you think it's okay? Do you think it's okay to preach killing out of Canadian mosques? Do you think that's okay? Answer the question. Do you think it's okay? No. No. Okay, then what do you think we should do as Canadians with that mosque and with that imam?
Stop all the children, all the women, all the stop lying and getting robbed. That's what you need to
That would be ideal.
live in Canada.
That would be ideal. What should we do with the mosques and the imams that are calling for the killing of infidels? But what should we do about that? What should we do about it?
I mean, we have cameras, we're not scared. Go ahead. Yeah. You know, Mullah Lobby, right? But they haven't shown up.
Does it say in the Bible that it's okay to do that? No. Okay. In the Quran it does. In the Quran it does. So what do we do to kill infidels and Jews? It does say that. Of course it does. You know it does.
Grooming day, buddy. Grooming day.
What about Muslims that have left the faith? Sorry, go ahead. No, it's not hatred. Yes, I agree. Yes. The truth is that Islam, the Quran has over 109 verses of hate. Okay, now I'm going to ask you once again, is it okay for an imam to ask for the killing of Jews and Christians? He's not answering. And that's what we get again. We get that again and again. They won't answer. If I ask them a question about the hate preaching coming out of mosques, they don't answer. They change the subject and say that we're killing people in the Middle East. Did we ever say that it's good? All the wars that are going on in the Middle East? No. But he will not address my questions about hate speech coming out of mosques. or the hate speech coming out of the Quran and Hadith.
How about all these priests and rape gangs? Look at you. You're rape gang. Look, you're racist. You are racist. You just told me you don't want me here. You just told me you don't want me here. Oh, here we go.
Don't let them get you all hot and hot. That's what they're looking for. So I just asked this Muslim gentleman if it's okay that imams preach death to the Jews and Christians out of Canadian mosques, the mosque on Dundas Square, or on Dundas Street. He wouldn't answer me. He does not answer me. He brings up issues in the Middle East. He calls me a hate monger for drawing attention to hate speech coming out of Canadian mosques. An imam in Quebec teaches that apostates have to be killed. What is the definition of an apostate? Somebody who leaves the faith, somebody who associates with people that are not Muslim, and people, there's another thing too, but I can't recall what it is at the moment, but there are imams in Canada that are preaching this in their mosques. Our government lets it go. Our government does nothing about this. They let them continue to preach. The imam in the mosque on Dundas was confronted, and the Toronto Star did a story on this imam. This is very interesting. This imam said he didn't know what he was saying. He was saying it in Arabic. That is an incredible thing to believe. An Islamic imam not knowing what he's saying because he was saying it in Arabic. And it's not that he just said these things once, he said them multiple times. This imam knew exactly what he was saying. And our government does nothing. We have counter-protesters that call us hate mongers. We're not hate mongers. We're exposing hate in Canada. We're exposing hate in the West, in Europe. It is becoming desperate, except for a few exceptions. Yesterday we saw in the news that Austria closed 7 mosques and deported many imams for hate speech and with ties to ISIS. This is what needs to be done. If you have a hate preaching imam, they need to be defrocked. If you have a mosque that preaches hate, that mosque needs to be closed. We're not doing it in Canada. Not doing it in most of Western Europe. They are doing it in some countries. Austria is one. Yes, Trudeau, if Trudeau is out, that might help. But we need to raise awareness of this, not only with the Liberal government, because all of our governments need to realize, all our political parties need to realize that this is a problem. It's a problem in Europe. It's a problem throughout the Western world, and we have to deal with it. Free Tommy Tommy! Free Tommy 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 Robinson! Free Tommy Tommy! Free Tommy 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 Robinson! Free Tommy Tommy! Free Tommy 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 Robinson! I just want to ask you one more time. Yeah, but you don't answer. Can I ask you once more?
I tell you one thing.
Can I ask you once more? Okay. Yeah, you don't want to answer my question. That's okay. That's okay.
Well, the big one's going to be down in a few hours, so we'll head down here. The reason we did a smaller one here is because it's more of a demonstration, symbolic thing. We want to get it on video. We want people to know that The British consulate is being made aware that we're not like just blindsided. We know that this is a systemic issue. This is not about Islam so much as it is about the fear that the British system is actually protecting these guys.
From
and
imams
instead of jailing them, they're
in
jailing
Canada.
Tommy.
This is what some imams in Canada are saying.
In the United States, where they found that there's massive
Oh Allah, raise the standing of Islam and the Muslims and humiliate the infidels and polytheists.
Some of the people in it
This is being spoken out of Canadian mosques. So if you're not Muslim, I guess you're not much, according to this imam. That was Imam Sheikh Saeed Rajia, and I believe he's in Toronto here. Then we have Hussein Mujabi Rizvi. I'm not quite sure where he is, but he has said, God is our witness. We will see the day when the religion of Allah will overpower all of these oppressors, and justice and peace will rule the world. This quote is said in mosques in Canada.
But they couldn't stop
These quotes are available on YouTube. You can find them anywhere.
The ban from the case and so on and so forth. So it's incredible to see how there's an oligarchy. You know, the system above is actually protecting these gangs and these people.
This next quote is from Imam Abdullah Adhim, and he says, "What is our identity? We are Muslims, strewn about across the planet, without anybody to represent us. We are Muslims who actually belong to the caliphate. The caliphate represents us, and it was destroyed in 1924. We are responsible for working to reestablish it. So this is the first thing. We must work to establish the caliphate." Okay, this imam is the imam that I was talking about in London, Ontario, that is calling for a worldwide caliphate. This imam belongs to the organization Hizb ut-Tahrir. This is a political Islamic organization. I'll say it again, this organization was banned in many countries, just like the Muslim Brotherhood. But it is allowed to operate freely in Canada, and they are allowed to spread their rhetoric in Canada. The next quote is from Omar Subaydar. He's an imam here in Ontario. And he says, "Men are in charge of women. Allah has permitted the husband to discipline his wife by striking her. Wives have an obligation to be obedient to their husbands." This imam says it's okay to beat your wife. And we have the same thing with the Muslim police chaplain. He says the same thing, that you can beat your wife. The Quran says that they can do this. That's the difference. And they advocate it. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. What verse is it? What verse is it? What verse is it? Yes. 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 That it calls for wife beating, that it calls for the death of non-Muslims. Did you listen to any of these quotes? Did you listen? Okay, this is another one. This is from Sheikh Ahmed Abdul Kader Kandil, and he's an imam in Quebec. And this imam says, well, why don't you listen? This imam says, if after the third day he adheres to this possession, he will be killed. This is a quote from the Quran.
But it's not even liberal, because to be liberal means
Does it say to kill people that are... Is that what Jesus' message was? What was Jesus' message? What was Jesus' message? What was Jesus' message? No, the Bible points towards Christ. What was Jesus' message? Okay, okay. Free Tommy Tommy. Free Tommy 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 Robinson. Free Tommy Tommy. Free Tommy 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 Robinson. How? How am I racist? Tell me. Do you think we should protect our democracy here from hate speech? Why is it hate speech? We're revealing hate speech. That's what we're revealing. How is it hate speech? That's not what this rally's about. It's for Tommy. You're on the sidewalk. We can video you. And you came up to me to talk. You can film me. I have no issue with that. No problem. Yes, I know. There's a lot of people like that. It's okay. We are here to protest Tommy's arrest. Tommy was arrested for revealing rape gangs in the UK, and that is something that impacts the whole Western democratic world. If we can't speak out against hate and violence, that is distressing. We will lose our freedoms. We have to be able to speak out against hate speech and against violence. The Imam in the mosque on Dundas has preached and has prayed for the killing of Jews and Christians, and his congregation has said, Amen. Yeah, that's what he said, but he said it twice. Ask an Arabic scholar. Ask an Arabic scholar. I'm sure you'll have. Yeah. Many people speak about interpretation of the Quranic verses. Many imams in Canada reiterate what I'm telling you right now, that when it says to kill Jews and Christians, it means to kill Jews and Christians. It doesn't mean something else. It's not interpreted as something else. It's exactly what it says. And it's exactly what it means.
All right, we're out here, and the reason we're out here is we're out here to support Tommy Robinson. Hey, Simone. And the reason we're supporting Tommy Robinson is this is not a religious thing. We're not dealing specifically with religions. Right now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring awareness to the fact that a man has the right to freely speak, and he had concern about grooming gangs. And he found that due to the police involvement in all these things, Tommy found that there were police who were involved in this. And this is why they've come so hard against him. And not only police, but politicians and names and faces and places of professional people who should not be obviously involved in this, but are on the upper levels. So our concern is not religion, because we know Catholics can be used to do the same thing, and they have historically. You look at the residential schools in Canada, it happens all the time. But on the face of it, if the government is hiding it, supporting it, and participating in it, that is where the huge issue is. And I think that's why Tommy's in so much trouble. You can't convince a judge to put him away, arrest him, sentence him, try him in 4 hours, just because he has to have some sort of knowledge, involvement, and belief in what was going on. The same judge who was actually trying the grooming gang trial. So let's bring awareness to the fact that we're trying to protect free speech and our rights. We're trying to protect and bring awareness to the fact that the governments are not always clean. I mean, look at Yaxley-Lennon. She didn't get booted out for no reason. They didn't lose party status for no reason. And when those books are opened, if they haven't shredded them and deleted all the hard drives, we're going to see what really went on in the past 15 years. I know personally that they were running energy scams and so on and so forth, giving contracts to friends. You don't make that much money being a politician, but she sure did. So let's be aware that we're trying to clean out, drain the swamp, they say.
We're trying to get some real people like Dougie in here, and we want the same for the UK. We want the same for people like Tommy, who can go out and freely talk against illegal activities, which are clearly illegal and abhorrent, that no one would want in their country, and not have a bunch of complainers saying that he shouldn't be able to speak out against grooming gangs. It doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are, it's irrelevant to the fact that grooming gangs are illegal activity. It's prostitution, and it's forced prostitution. And many of these people who they are prostituting are very, very young girls and boys. Historically, though, the problem we have is that, and in a way it's not a problem, in a way it's almost a revelation, because we know these gangs already existed. They have existed in Canada and all over the world, but because of the way that Islamic culture, when they do it, not that all do it, but when they do it, when the Catholics do it, it's a different way, but when the Islamics do it, it's in the way they do it, and the way they do it is out in the open. They don't hide it. These guys were running children in the middle of the day, dragging them into vans on public streets. This was not a joke. They weren't in the dark of the night. They weren't hiding in the woods. They weren't afraid to do this in public. And no wonder they got caught so quickly, even though there was so much stubbornness to do so. So why are we surprised when people and the public, Tommy Robinson, a regular working Joe, can't stand it? He sees it, he hears it, the screams, he sees the girls being dragged into vans, and he says, I gotta do something about it. It's your natural reaction. And when the police wouldn't do anything about it for him, it resulted in him having to go on his own crusade. And he's done it with politics, he's done it with the word of mouth, he's done it with social media, he's done it in peace. And he was almost killed in prison, he was almost murdered. He had acid thrown on him, he's been beaten in the street. There's several videos, you can go look it up yourself, Tommy Robinson Live. And it's important to know that someone who is just speaking out against prostitution rings of 12-year-old girls is being persecuted and told that he has done something wrong. We right here then are doing something wrong. Everyone out here is doing something wrong. Because it jives with an ideology. I would say the guy down there is wearing a Superman t-shirt. I don't like Superman. Put him in jail. I think he's a bigot. Why is he white? Is that the way society is going? And unfortunately. And why is it going that way? Because the common experience thus far has been blocked from our minds, but now people are all being touched. Now we're all getting touched. Now we're all being told at work and at home and at play, you can't say that, you can't do this. You say that, you're going to hurt somebody's feelings. Well, so what? If we reside in this idea that everything we say is offensive, that nobody can speak their mind and believe in Jesus Christ, or you believe in what you believe, then who are we? We're going to lose our personalities, we're going to lose our individuality, we're going to become like Nazi robots, kill, steal, destroy. We're going to become like the Borg. We're going to become like people who have no reason to live except to obey an oligarchy, a control system whereby they have all the gold and we have all the dust. We're looking for free markets in Canada. We're looking for freedom of speech. And if people can see that the events that are happening in the United States right now with their market-freeing 3.8% growth rate, we see a growing nation. They can follow the man in economics, but can they follow the belief system on which that is founded? And like it or lump it, no matter where you come from or who you are, this nation, the United States, and many others were founded upon the Bible, believe it or not. When the Queen gathered her power and she was coronated upon the stone, she put her hand on the Gospel of John on the Bible and said, I swear to uphold the things of the Gospel of John. And in our Constitution it says, the fundamental powers continue to be vested in Queen Elizabeth II. So all the power she has comes from the Gospel of John, and all the power we have in government is in her, and that's how it still works in Canada. So why are we going to abandon the beliefs that we have had for so long? In Psalms it says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? And if we destroy the foundation of our Constitution and our beliefs, our handheld beliefs, the beliefs that we know, if you're being tricked out of believing into something else, into something that has nothing to do with the foundation of this nation. You know, Barack Obama made quite a resounding statement. He said Islam was part of the foundation of the United States. They were their innovators. Complete lie, complete foolishness. This is a culture that is in the world today, and it has given us a certain perspective on who we are. And we're in a fight, and that war doesn't come to your door if you stay within the bounds of the Constitution and the rights of the people. And those rights are resounding, they're perfect, they're holy even, I would say. They give us a right to speak and to say and to do. As long as we're not trying to infringe on another's rights, what can we complain about? Yeah, we're going down, if anybody's watching right now live, we're going to be going down to the big rally at Nathan Phillips Square at 3:30, is it? Nathan? Where is it? Armory and University at 3:30.
What time is it now?
I don't know.
What time is it now? 1 o'clock.
It's only 1 o'clock.
Okay, guys, so everybody have time to get down to University and Armory for the big protest.
Absolutely.
This is for Tommy here, and also Tommy over there. So we're here at 777 Bay Street for Tommy Robinson, and this is a protest for Tommy. God bless all the patriots. God bless everybody coming out. Please, we need more people, and come down to big protest at University and Armory at 3:30. Thank you very much. God bless you, all you patriots.
Anybody else want to say something? You want to give it a go? You sure? You see? Well, Tommy Robinson, we're hoping you get freed, my friend. We're in here outside the British consulate, and we are hoping that you get your shot out of jail, because we know so many people have been persecuted on the regular as a result of people's inability to see the future. And the future is now, because it is written in the books. And we know the game plan of those who come to destroy us, to kill and to steal and to take our lives away from us. It's very clear and it's very open, because they say it openly. Their leaders say it openly. And if you're going to identify any one group, you got to talk to them. I found at most times, many people who say, I'm a Hindu or I'm a Muslim or I'm this or I'm that, and you ask 10 different ones what they believe, they all believe something different. There's no consistency, because it's all confusion. So if you want to know who someone is, just talk to them. And you'll see the point of that. Because Islam means submission. But what are we submitting to? Who are we submitting to? Are we submitting to men? Our own governments are supposed to submit to us. And when we tell them to do something en masse, they're supposed to do it. And if one says to do it, because their rights have been violated, they're supposed to do it. We all have a right, and that right is sacred. So if we're telling people that your free speech has been infringed, or you've been assaulted, or so on and so forth, there should be action. But in the case of Tommy, you see him get assaulted live on camera, and no one's arrested, everyone gets away, assaulted his camera woman, screaming on the ground, they're pulling her hair. Does the guy go to jail? No. There's not even a charge laid, and the police were present. You can see that there is a willingness to allow people who tell the truth to suffer. But he says in the word, he says, I would have mercy rather than sacrifice. So we're asking, really what we're asking for is some mercy for Tommy Robinson, because the man should not be in prison for 13 months for showing up outside a courtroom and doing a YouTube video about publicly known facts in a case. It wasn't illegal what he did, and we're doing nothing illegal right now by talking about it. Yet there are people out here who call us Nazis and say we're racists and bigots, that we're fools and liars, that we're out here to destroy something, but we're out here to preserve something that has been preserved by blood. And I remember all those people who died defending our freedom in World War I, World War II. I mean, there have been bad times and things that I didn't agree with, wars I didn't agree with. But we know that foundationally, people have sacrificed their lives so that we can say we are free. And that our free is reasonable and it's nothing to deny. This war has been raging throughout the whole world. If North Korea can do it, why can't we? If they can see the error of their ways and come to the table, we're hoping our own people and the people of the UK and France, and it looks like Denmark, and especially Sweden, which is really going through it right now, we're hoping they'll all come to the table and be willing to openly talk and say, listen, our people are suffering. This wasn't necessary. The flood of people that swarmed, it wasn't necessary. However, we know that evil comes and that we're taking it stride at a time. So we are where we are right now. And right now we're out here at 777 Bay Street, outside the British consulate. And we're calling all of you people to the awareness of the fact that a man has been put in prison simply for freely speaking. And not just freely speaking, but exposing grooming gangs, exposing prostitution of 12-year-olds in the streets of the UK. And he has been imprisoned because that ring, those girls are being sold to somebody. And those somebodies, some of them include politicians, judges, police. And these are how the rings happen. If you don't believe there's corruption in government, look at Kathleen Wynne, look at George W. Bush, look at Barack Obama. Selling out their own nations for their own profits, and it's happened over and over again. And now they're selling out our children. They're selling their bodies and they're selling their lives and their futures. And it's not the first time it's happened in the UK, and it's happened in Canada. But we hope to put an end to it finally, that we can have some love and care for one another. To say no to the complacency that we have been taught. To just sit and zone out and watch the screen and think that there's nothing out there to do, but there are things to do. Things are lively right now. This is a lively place. We have lively people. And if life is halted, then we'll all die. We're looking for the regular man and woman to come out. The mason, the bricklayer, the guy who paves the street, the guy who picks up the garbage, the guy who cooks your food. We're looking for the regular men and women of this country to stand up also and remember their free speech and their rights. We had 10 people murdered on Yonge Street up there at Shepherd. And you know, the media was very interesting because they didn't report certain things that I thought should have been reported. One of those things was that the guy who ran all those people over, including a small child, that he was wearing an Islamic hat. He was a Muslim. But nobody told you that. You also probably didn't know that in 2014, and why wouldn't they report this? I don't know. It's not like people in Toronto go around in gangs and mobs and they start burning down businesses. And I mean, it happened in the Greek riots, but it was a long time ago. But we're not violent people, but we should, as public, be able to know things, especially when they're relevant. It's not unreasonable to report on every aspect of a case. And if a man ran over 10 people and said he did it because of what he believes and his religion, we should know that. It's a concern. Why most people don't know? Like I was going to say, in 2014, there was a firefighter. He was standing in Second Cup at Coxwell and Danforth. A man came in, and he had a hatchet, a blade, and he in one swipe, almost cut his head off. The guy didn't know who he was. Turned out it was a religiously motivated attack. Did anybody know that happened? I don't think so. I came across it. It was a small little print story. Didn't seem to be anyone's mind, but it happens. We know that our own people of all kinds of beliefs commit crimes. This is not about singling out any group of people. But what it is about raising the awareness that you cannot assume any group of people is innocent either. And when people have a motivation that they call from a book or a document or a person, a cult leader or whoever it is, we have to ensure that we're making people aware that that's where it's coming from, and that these ideologies must be watched out for. We have to keep a watchful eye to protect our own children. You don't just let them go out on the middle of Yonge Street at night. You keep a watchful eye on them. You say you got to come home. It's very reasonable. So if we know that things are being taught wherever, in a church, in a mosque, in a school, or anywhere, where there are calling for violence, kidnappings, grooming gangs, and so on and so forth, we have to be made aware of that so we can watch for it. And that is reasonable for us to want to do that. I'm hoping you'll all watch. I'm hoping you'll all keep your eye on the ball, because right now it's spinning out of control. Because if Tommy can go to jail for 13 months for nothing, so can you. We're not that different from the UK. We have the same kind of sensibilities. And thank God we're right beside the United States, because that's leveled us off a little bit and given us a unique position as such a young nation that has yet to identify itself fully and completely, that has yet to bring itself forth on the world stage in a way where people say, that is Canadian. We're hoping to protect that and to gather all the things together that we need to gather so we can have a responsible nation and people who honor the things that we have so desired for: free speech, free thought, free love, the gift of kindness and mercy. Let's show some mercy today for Tommy, and in some hope for the free speech, for the love that we're all seeking to know and to keep and to hold. This is the time is now to do these things. So I hope in them you can all do rightly and be blessed. Amen.
That's the speech. Hey, Siobhan, want to say sorry? How's it going? How are you, Ryan?
Yeah, I thought it was 2 o'clock. I thought you said 2
No.
Hi, people.
12 here
Now,
and 2 o'clock at Young and
there's
Dundas,
a
but we might
difference
go
between
to
religion and race.
yeah.
Like,
Spend an hour.
you know, like, hey, a white person can convert to Hinduism or Islam or Buddhism, or an East Indian can convert to Christianity or Judaism. You know, so there is a big difference between a nationality and a religion. So the thing is with the religion of Islam, it's the teachings. Their main hidden agenda is to see if they can, go out, conquer, and somehow force everybody into the religion. And now the thing is, not everybody in the world knows this, that okay, their title reads either you convert or it's your life, and that's what happened. When the Islamic faith started, they went into Africa, India, through the Orient, right up into Eastern Europe. So those people became Muslim by force. And the thing is, it's more of a dictatorship faith than what they say. It's a faith of peace. And the thing is, everybody has a right to free speech. Like the thing is, if anybody if somebody will badmouth Hinduism, Buddhism, or Judaism, or even Christianity, well, hey, people are entitled to their opinions, but why does a certain religion deserve better, or why does it say that
you can't say nothing about this particular religion. Well, it's like we cannot do favoritism to a certain religion or a group of people. You know the old saying, fair is fair. Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
Free Tommy, guys.
Why are we catering to a certain group of people? Of a religious faith, and it's okay to say negative things about Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, and other types of people, and and the thing is, as for Islam, they've been working on this for the past close to 100 or 1,000 years, trying to see how they can take over and conquer the entire world. And they've been working on this for ever since they started. And they're like, I don't know, I would say like a snake in the grass. They will they'll look at you with like with a friendly, polite face, but until they get where they want, then it's a big surprise. Yeah. So nobody should be forced into a certain faith that they don't want to. If they don't agree with a certain faith. Well, nobody should be forced into that, because well, as a Christian, I believe, hey, if people practice whatever they want to believe, if you're a Muslim, hey, that's fine and dandy, or if you're an atheist or agnostic, or if you believe in evolution, well, hey, that's your cup of tea. But as for Islam, they say either you got to believe what we believe, or it's your life, and that's their agenda as of to this day. And the thing is, I don't think it's right. Because if you tell me to live and let live, that's what they're doing. They don't want to live and let live. They want to force you into their faith, and if you refuse, well they'll say, well then we'll have to kill you. And I notice that within Christianity, it doesn't work that way. And it's like. So I don't think it's fair that a certain group, a certain religious group that deserves, should be given favoritism and prevalence, and yet other people of other religious faiths in Canada and the United States are kind of shoved to one corner or considered not that important, while Muslims are being given it's like they're being put on a pedestal. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Special privileges, and once again, I don't think that's. Yeah, I don't think that's fair. Yeah. It's not fair to once again the Hindus, the Buddhists, Jews, Christians, and and people who happen to be atheists, if you're calling me a bigot, I think what you're doing with the Muslims and what the Muslims are asking for, I think that seems more bigot than calling me. Saying that I'm Islamophobic, I'm racist. I said no. Well, once again, there is a big difference between nationality and religion. So, once again, a white person can convert to Hinduism, Islam, or Buddhism, and an East Indian can convert to Christianity or Judaism. So, race and religion is not the same thing. It's just, a faith, with all these different teachings, and if you think I don't know what I'm talking, if you don't think what I know, if you don't think you know what I'm talking about, well, go and read the Quranic scriptures. Go read the Quran for yourself, and all the answers are there. I'm not making this up. And right into parts of Russia. And so, if you think Christianity or whoever is out to control people, well, go take a look at Islam. They're like the worst of the worst. And it's really getting bad in Europe, and if we don't act now, it could happen right here in North America. And we gotta, so we can no longer, sit back and let this thing, keep flowing. We have to somehow stand up and bring it to a screeching halt. Okay, I think that's all I gotta say.
Think you could work this at me? I'll press record and you can just point it out. Folks, we're on Banerjee here. I'm the advisor to RiseCanada.com, director with the Canadian Hindu Advocacy. Folks, we have this situation in England that we're here about today. Tommy Robinson, getting arrested, getting thrown into jail, all because of his criticism of Islam, which has apparently become something that is not permitted anymore in British society. A lot of people, I'm going to give you a little bit of historical context here that has been missing from a lot of the discussion. A lot of the people think that the reason that this is happening in England is only because of immigration, only because of unrestrained immigration, only because of multiculturalism, only because of political correctness, and indeed all those things do play a part. However, there is a historical context that we all need to be aware of, and it's something that we as Western nations need to correct. For many, many, many centuries now, the Western world, and specifically England, have been promoting Islam. It's part of their colonial strategy. When the British Empire went into South Asia, a lot of people don't realize that they had an explicit and a specific policy of promoting Islam over other religions there. The nation of Pakistan, which is called the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, which many people consider to be one of the biggest problems on the world, on the planet today, in terms of Islamic terrorism and extremism. This nation was founded with the connivance of the British. That's true. The British wanted to undermine the Hindus, who were the majority in South Asia. And in order to do that, they decided to promote Islam. Pakistan was practically a creation of the British. And now the Muslim extremists, the Pakistani extremists, are in fact immigrating into England and are destroying England from the inside. Now, some might be unkind, some might say that those are chickens coming home to roost. I will say one thing. We need to have unity among the civilized, decent groups on this planet. That means that Jews, Christians, atheists, Hindus, Buddhists must work together and must expose the evil of radical Islam. That means we got to break from the past, folks. That means we can't go around saying that everything that the British did in the past was right and it was fantastic and it was great, because it wasn't. Because if it was so great, why is Britain in the condition that it's in today, folks? Break with the past, work together in a multi-faith, multi-ethnic manner, and that is what RiseCanada.com does. We had a conference earlier this week where we brought together speakers from many different groups. We brought together Buddhist speaker from Myanmar, from Burma. We brought together a member of the Hindu, a leader in the Hindu minority over in Bangladesh. We brought together other people as well, and we did it with the JDL, the Jewish Defense League of Canada. That's what interfaith is. That's what working together is. Reject those who promote Nazism or white supremacy or white nationalism. That is not the way. That is not the way to success. That is not ethical, that is not moral, and more importantly than that, it is not going to be successful. The people out there in the movement that are promoting those type of ideologies, all they're doing is they're making us look bad, they're promoting something that should not be promoted at all, and they're sending us, they're taking the patriot movement and they're literally flushing it down the toilet. Work with groups like Rise Canada, with the people who organize this event, work with JDL, Jewish Defense League, work with the Canadian Combat Coalition, who are doing a huge rally on July 14th at Parliament Hill in Ottawa. So let me tell you quickly, in summary, the 4 things that Rise Canada is going to do. Number 1, we are going to make Canada clean again. Number 2, we are going to make Canada rich again. Number 3, we are going to make Canada safe again. And finally, above all, we are going to make Canada rise again.
Yeah, it was successful. I mean, the whole point of coming out here is to, tell people that, my God, we're not trying to kill each other as men and women, and we want, we want some help and some freedom for people. And the rally was successful because we have people come out who actually care, and we're going to a bigger rally now. And things are snowballing, and that's what you want in any kind of political movement. You want snowballing. So this is the snowball effect. But of course, between snowballs, you need lunch. So that's the way it's going.
So you did some flyers too.
Absolutely. And the flyer, I wrote it up. It's got the essential story of what happened to Tommy, his journey, how he started. The grooming gangs were operating across the street from his tanning salon. He saw them in the middle of the day grabbing girls, putting them and stuffing in the vans. They were crying, they were screaming, and it was tattooed into his brain from that time forward. He contacted the police. He found that there was a certain abrasion, and it was very difficult for him to have any kind of action on this. He spent years then bringing awareness to people that these grooming gangs exist and that many of them are run on the base level by Islamics. Now, in my personal belief, I believe that many of them are supported by higher-ups, by blood-born Brits who are in politics and government because they're involved in the gang. They use their services. So these people, I believe, have been protecting these grooming gangs. Tommy, obviously, he was thrown in prison. Make it just like with Fritz Springmeier. You just make up some armed robbery, and now you're in prison for a year. He almost dies in prison. He gets out, he continues to protest, he's on bail. They arrested him on May 25th, 2018. You can watch the whole video on YouTube. He was live streaming at the time. Google actually blocked searching for articles associated with it. Most media wouldn't report on it. They tried to black it out, it didn't work. The video was live, and the protests that preceded that evening were also live. It ended up on InfoWars and Breitbart, I think, and a few other sites and news agencies, and it was too late, and they haven't stopped it yet. And I don't think that they predicted that protests would continue to happen. But the guy's away for 13 months for something he didn't do and for trying to protect Britain's children. So that's the whole story. I also have the grooming gang statistics on here, the UK table, yeah, absolutely. And according to the statistics in the UK, 90% of the convictions of people running grooming gangs are Muslims. And Tommy was persecuted just for pointing that out. And the reason he was pointing it out is not because he's a racist or a bigot or he hates religion in general. It's because he was making people aware that these people who were coming into the country at the time, specifically many of them were coming from Syria, as we know, they were being brought in. They themselves were not being groomed at the border. No one was vetting them to see, or it was intentional. It's not clear at this point whether or not and what level the intention was within the government. How corrupt were they? How many people were involved? Was it just ignorance? Was it a rush? Were they rushing them through and they just allowed some through who shouldn't have got through? Or was there an intentional push to encourage the enslavement of Britain's own people? We don't know. There's a lot of money in the Arab states right now because of the oil, and also people can get paid off pretty easily these days. And we know the root of evil is the love of money. So it would not confuse me or confound me to say that in the years to come, if the Brits can bring in a proper government, that government is going to expose the fact that historically their own government has been prostituting their own people by lack of empathy and care. So that's the scoop. And we don't want that to happen in Canada. Nobody wants that to happen in Canada. We know that there is always the potential that it should happen. If it is happening at this time, it wouldn't surprise me if there are, because it's always been going on. I mean, the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, he refused, when Trudeau actually approached him and said, will you apologize to the natives of Canada for the residential schools and what went on there? As we know, there was a lot of really bad stuff going on there that I won't even describe. And he refused. He outright refused to issue any apology. And I think that's abhorrent, because it's so clear. I mean, you can walk down the street here and talk to natives who hang out around downtown, as I have, and I'm telling you, 3/4 of the natives I speak to have all been abused in residential schools. It's ridiculous. Like, the statistics are through the roof. Now these days, the families are so messed up, they're giving Ritalin to 4-month-old babies. It's like, 4-month-old. And there's, well, what's wrong with the child? Yeah, they're separated from their parents. They're screaming, they're crying, they want their mommy and daddy. It's not wrong to have an emotional response to losing your parents. And these people who are on Ritalin, they end up snorting, sniffing, smoking their prescription drugs in their teenage years, and then, now they're eating Tide Pods, and who knows what will happen. It's ridiculous.
So you think there could be some more rallies
for Tommy? Hey, hopefully this is the last day and they just let him out. But depending on what goes on, I mean, the Brits, maybe they'll try and keep a zip lip and be silent on the whole thing and see if it just blows over. I'm not so sure. It depends really on what's going on right now as we speak in the UK. Are the rallies big enough? Are enough people getting out? Is there enough of a ruckus? Are they climbing the fences? If they can do that and, obviously show a majority support for the guy, that this is a huge issue, that everyone who is out there is not just protecting Tommy, they're protecting themselves. Being able to say and to do, to report grooming gangs, to report abuse, to report radicalized religions, whether it be Islam or any other religion, it doesn't matter. We're trying to protect people's lives. So that's the whole issue. Yeah.
Tommy Robinson, 777 Bay Street. All right. Report local scene.